Now, I want to go back. We're going to go back to yesterday. I'm going to play the soundbite of me from this program, the portion of the program where I threw up my hands in frustration and just said that for the first time I'm ashamed of my country. Now, I realize that many of you tuned in today wanting to hear more of this because you didn't hear it at all yesterday. You weren't here, but you heard about it. So you made an appointment. Join this program at the beginning. You wanted to hear what this is all about. You wanted to hear more about it, and I haven't yet really discussed it, and you're probably angry. And I want to tell you why. I didn't say this yesterday to generate attention, interest, or whatever. I don't do that. That's not the reason I say anything any day. The second thing is I'm really serious when I say I don't want this program to be about me. So I did the first hour sticking to the issues, so forth. And, of course, the third reason was the old broadcast trick of hook you in and keep you waiting. You know, the old entertainer's creed, always keep them wanting more. You never, ever satisfy the audience. That's third on the list. So let's just get to it. In case anybody missed yesterday's program, or if you heard about it, you heard it discussed, and you're curious, here essentially, I spent more time than this, but this is 2 minutes, and it's a pretty good summary of what I said yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in my life, I am ashamed of my country. To be watching all of this, to be treated, to have my intelligence, all of us, to have our common sense and intelligence insulted the way it's being, it just makes me ashamed. Seriously, man, I mean, here we get worked up over $44 billion. That's the total amount of money that will not be spent, that was scheduled to be spent this year. And in truth, we're going to spend more this year than we spent last year. We're just not going to spend as much as was projected. It's all baseline budgeting. There is no real cut below a baseline of zero. There just isn't. And yet, here they come, sucking us in, roping us in, panic here, fear there, crisis, destruction, no meat inspection, no cops, no teachers, no firefighters, no air traffic control. I'm sorry, my days of getting roped into all this are over. We have the media play along with all this. The ruling class, both parties, play along with all this. It's insulting. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm into my 25th year. I can't tell you the number of times this hit me yesterday. I've said the same things over and over for 25 years. That whether the Clinton presidency or the Obama presidency, whether it's a Pelosi speakership or Tom Foley, who was speaker when I started, it's the same stuff. It's the same threats. It's the same arguments over and over. Nothing ever changes. We just keep spending more money. We create more dependency. We get more and more irresponsible, one crisis to the next, all of them manufactured, except for the real crisis, which nobody ever addresses, and that is we can't afford any of this. Just one slight error. Fort Worthless Jim Wright was the speaker when I started, and Tom Foley came after Fort Worthless Jim after he was forced to resign. You remember why he had to resign? Well, it was new, but what did Fort Worthless do? Fort Worthless Jim, well, just in addition to being Fort Worthless Jim, he published a book that was a rehash of floor speeches, public speeches. Some pages had one word. Most pages double space, triple space, just to get it up to 200 pages. The book, nobody ever bought it except the unions. The unions bought the books in bulk, but never took delivery. They stayed in the basement of the publisher. Fort Worthless Jim was a shifty guy. I mean, he did the, I'll never forget, he did a response to the State of the Union one year after, it would have been George H.W. Bush. And it was just, Now, it led into the House bank scandal, the House post office scandal. This is when the bottom fell out of the Democrats, right in the early 90s, over all of this stuff. Anyway, my point with all this is that for 25 years, folks, we've been dealing with the same premise. Unless we spend another dime, the country is going to cease to exist. And for 25 years, I have responded to each premise on what I call an intellectual point-by-point basis, refuting every claim. The purpose of this program has been to create as large a body of informed voting citizens as possible. And what we've been profoundly successful at that. The left has beaten us. They have created far more low information, unaware, uneducated people than we've been able to keep up with. We've had a profound impact here in increasing that universe of people, citizens who are in the arena of ideas now, who are informed and educated. As I've always had a civics 101 view of the country. People get what they want. They vote what they want. They get the way they vote. And if a majority of people are educated and informed and know what's going on, liberalism and these powerful forces that have ill intent to the country can be defeated. And despite overwhelming success in creating more and more people who are informed and active and involved, the left, with control of the education system, control of the pop culture, movies, TVs, books, music, we've just been outnumbered. And the way they've done it is to create more and more dependency, and then every so often tell those people that they're about to lose it all because of the Republicans. And that's what we're going through now with the sequester business, which was an idea of the President of the United States. This guy gets away with not even being seen as governing. He's seen as a campaigning outsider on the side of the low information voters, trying to help them, protect them, save them from the ravages of people like me, supposedly, who want to take everything away from them. And I'm just tired of having to defend this. It's absurd. And it makes me ashamed. It makes me ashamed that we have sunk and descended to this level in our politics. In order for the left to have to, or be able to advance, they require ignorance. And as much ignorance, and I don't mean stupidity, genuine, real ignorance. People don't know what's going on. They require more and more of that in order to be successful. The left does not want an informed, participating block of people. They want people that don't know what's going on. They want people that can be frightened. They want people that can be scared to death. And they do it. And it's gotten to the point where it's just, the first time it was ridiculous to actually have to spend time here and tell people, no, the Republicans do not want your kids to starve. It's insulting. Back during the budget battle in 1995, that was the battle cry. Republicans want to starve our kids. And the Republicans, like anybody else, said, nobody's going to believe this, and they didn't actively refute it. People believed it. It makes me ashamed that the Democrats get away with this. It makes me embarrassed and ashamed of this country. Now, normally the left would love this. The left doesn't like America. They would think, oh, wow, Limbaugh's on our side. The only problem for them is I'm saying this while one of theirs is president. Back during the 1995 budget battle, folks, they actually had students from New Orleans and other Louisiana cities actually sit down in class and write letters to Republican members of Congress begging not to be starved. Please, Mr. Republican Congressman, don't take away my school lunch. I can't learn when I'm hungry. The utter futility of dealing with this. Let's say that for real, and of course it never will happen, but let's just hypothetically say, let's say that the school lunch program is terminated. Are America's parents just going to sit idly by and let their kids go hungry? At what point do the parents enter the scene here? At what point do people rise up and say, well, I don't care. My kid's not going to go hungry. I'll feed the kid lunch. I'll pack a lunch or what. But to have to spend time refuting such things as air traffic control will shut down. The military will shut down. There won't be any firefighters. There won't be any cops. And not once, folks. We're now into the 7th or 8th episode of this in the last 2 years. Be it this, the sequester, be it the fiscal cliff argument, be it one of the many arguments over raising the debt limit. In each case, we've been forced to refute a bunch of out-and-out ridiculous lies and assertions. And it finally hit me that accepting the premise and arguing that stuff on the merits is to be a fool. If we've gotten to the point, in my mind, where we have to take time and tell adults in this country, no, the Republicans don't want your son to starve. If we actually have to take time and say that, and then whether or not they believe it is an open question, then what's there to be proud of? If hundreds of thousands or millions, whatever, adults actually believe that there are people who want their kids to starve in this country, then not only is that shameful, it's just downright embarrassing. And it's beneath the dignity of any of us here to even have to try and defend it and to even take on the task of defending it, is to accept the premise, which is to be foolish. And I'm fed up with it. I can't do it anymore. There's after 25 years of same allegations. And while all this is happening, while all these allegations of austerity are what we're actually doing is ruining the country. We're actually spending more than we ever have. We're actually creating more dependence. We're not nobody. The whole thing is shamefully absurd. I don't know how else to say it.